Okay, Chiron, a little bit about Chiron. It's a place where we are the most wounded, where we're hypersensitive. It's a place of pain, and it's the cross that we have to bear in our lives. They call it the wounded healer, but I'm not buying that whole everybody's a healer. I mean, if we were all healers, that's what everybody on the planet would be doing right now. We would all be like healing people, and that's not what it's not realistic. That's not what I'm finding. That's not what you see in the world. Chiron is the place where we're wounded, and in synastry, it's also the place where we have wounded others. An example is that I have my mother and my stepfather's Chiron conjunct my first house. My physical body, it's symbolic of the abuse, it's symbolic of the control. When you look at both our charts, well, when you compare my chart to both of their charts, their Chiron is like sitting right there, right in my first house. And it is an accurate reflection of what the hell happened. Anyway, I wanted to start with Chiron and Aries. I've got some notes here. I don't know if I'm going to put this all in one video or if I'm going to dice it up. But I have an individual here who has Chiron in Aries in her 10th house. This wound, once again, you know, there's the time of activation, and then there's the tipping point. That tipping point, that point when it's time for us to deal with it. Because you can go ahead and receive the abuse in childhood, or to receive the event that maybe happened during your teens, or maybe, you know, later in your life. And that's when your Chiron is activated. You were fine before that, but then, you know, this thing happened, and now, you know, the event happened, and perhaps, like a lot of trauma, you know, gets pushed into the subconscious mind because, you know, it's just too much to deal with. And then something comes along and triggers it, and then there's your tipping point, and now comes the opportunity or the time to do the therapy, to do the spiritual work, or do nothing at all. Like with this individual whose chart I'm looking at, on the positive, Chiron can bring you to a place where you have compassion, and you're more compassionate. And, you know, whatever area of your life or yourself where you were, you know, where you were wounded. But this thing about everybody's a healer, no, everybody's not a healer. The 10th house, you know, your career status, your career, your status in the world, because not everybody has a career. You know, we've got people who are disabled, either physically, psychiatrically, people who are students, you know, they're not working. You've got homemakers, you've got all kinds of people, you know, and they call the 10th house. The 10th house is the house of career. Well, no, it's not. It can be, but it's your status in the world. It's about rising above the ego when it's in Aries. Because Aries, I mean, they are the movers and the shakers. They get things moving. They make it happen. And For Chiron to be in Aries, you know, Aries is confidence. Aries is leadership. Aries is, you know, it's not that crazy control like with Scorpio, but Aries needs to lead, and when Chiron is there's like a major challenge, from a challenge to being or having that shut down. And that's painful for an Aries because, you know, they are meant to lead. You know, there are those of us who, you know, are content to follow. So it's like, okay, if I have to follow, fine. But to have that Aries energy and then to have that wounded, it's a blow to the ego. And then, so there's this challenge to rise above the ego. And that's what happened to this individual. There wasn't any rising above the ego. There's been lots of tears, no inner work because of other aspects on her natal chart. Well, it's just reflecting what's happened, but you know, the whole the drug addiction, medication, you know, because of depression. And she's content, you know, to be sedated and not do any work. Aries is also physical self-expression. It's ruled by Mars. Physical self-expression. With Chiron here, it's like, you know, it afflicts your ability, you know, to assert yourself. Now, this individual, in her case, it was balanced out by her Scorpio moon and other, you know, factors, other aspects on her chart. She doesn't have a problem. Okay, for example, you know, when she was a kid, you know, she was bullied, she was picked on, and, you know, for being different. And she did not have a problem fighting back. She didn't have a problem speaking her mind. Mercury rules her third house, and she's got Pluto in that third house, and it's in the sign of Scorpio, so she didn't have any problem giving people a piece of her mind and defending herself. So that modified, you know, the Chiron in Aries, but, you know, that wound is still there. Now, back to the physical self-expression. I mean, she had and has, you know, serious body image issues. I'm not going to go into it. The physical self-expression when she was little, I mean, she just had attention deficit hyperactive disorder, like really bad, and still has it. But when she was little, I mean, she'd like tear holes in the walls, and she was just, you know, out of control. So the physical self-expression, you know, the frustration of being able to have healthy self-expression was limited because, you know, who her parents were. Chiron in Aries, that's an offense to Aries' dignity. And an example of this is that, you know, her mother was hateful. Hateful, just humiliating. She was a humiliating force. And, okay, and I'll give some details about it. She had to wear old clothes and high waters, and was bullied to the point where she quit high school just so she could get a job, so she could wear decent clothes. Now, you know, Aries, it's like they just, like that confidence thing, you know, they need to, I mean, a lot of people want to look their best, but for a kid, you know, with Aries, with Chiron and Aries, and, you know, it's in the 10th house, it's in that world, it just, actually, it's conjunct her 11th house. You know, there was a loss of self-worth, low self-esteem, you know, because of body image. I mean, she, with this whole colorism thing, you know, there's racism, there's colorism, you know, within, you know, melanated groups, and she was dark-skinned. And, you know, her value was lowered, you know, because of that. Definitely hypersensitive to constructive criticism and cannot tolerate harsh criticism. It just intolerable. Can't do it. Her moon is in Cancer, and that just intensifies the hypersensitivity. This individual has to be in a relationship at all times, or her depression will spiral and it will drive her right into suicide. And that is the truth. Now, Chiron in the 10th house and in Aries, that could also be, and that's not this individual, but that could be, you know, it's like a body image thing. You know, it could be a sports coach, a cosmetology instructor, or a dance instructor. There's something that happens with acting, an abusive, critical, perfectionist parent. I mean, anything that is going to, like, just blast and destroy your self-image. Somebody, you know, dealing with someone who has the power to do that. You know, Aries, first house. You know, she's got her Aries, her Chiron in Aries. But I'm just thinking of, you know, how this could affect other people to have their Chiron in Aries in the 10th house. You know, you're out in that world, and it's like, you know, that's the, you know, the self, the not number one in a negative way. Oh, it's all about me, I'm number one. But this is just who Aries is, and it's like, to be, you know, to have that wound there, that blow to the self-image can come from anywhere. You know, people who have the power to just tell you that, you know, you're not good enough. You know, your body, you know, your self-image, I mean, just, you know, just slash away. Coping skills. Ideally, this individual should seek out help from loved ones, from professionals, to learn stress management, you know, to learn cognitive behavioral techniques, or to get cognitive behavioral therapy, to do all they can to build up their coping skills. But okay, sorry about that. My camera went kaput on me. But anyway, as I was saying, this individual, rather than seeking that help, just chooses to self-medicate and not do the work. Now, this being in her 10th house, you know, Chiron being in her 10th house in Aries, she suffered a blow to her independence when she lost her ability to be employed because of, you know, severe emotional issues that, you know, resulted from, you know, her upbringing, her molding. And there's this sadness, this quiet sadness, and not really a resolve. Like, you know, she doesn't have any fight left in her. While she was employed, she enjoyed her employment. The people really loved her, and they just, you know, she was the life of the party, and they just would love to, you know, go to wherever she was sitting, you know, during breaks and whatnot, and she would just do her Aries thing, and, you know, her Aries 10th house thing, and, you know, talk and tell jokes, and, you know, they just wanted to just be around her all the time, what do you call it? I know, that it factor thing, that thing that makes people just, you know, want to be around you, and it's not because they want something from you. So that was her leadership. Now she also has Venus conjunct her sun in the 11th house. And the thing that I said earlier about always needing to be with a partner, when she is in her partnership, that individual is like sunshine to her. It is Venus. It's grace, because she's got this disability, but it's like the universe just somehow sends her. I mean, after her divorce, or during her marriage, there was this, he just wanted to take care of her, you know. Now, in this particular relationship that she's been in for quite some time now, quite a few years, it's the same thing. He just wants to take care of her. And it's like, you know, let's just be real. I mean, it just, the world would say, well, you need to be out there, and you need to be, you know, women's lib, you know, that happened in the 70s, and you need to be out there, and you need to be doing this and doing that. And you know what? It just, everybody's so different. This Venus conjunct her sun in her 11th house definitely reflects, she doesn't get the guys that, you know, just want to get into her pants, the ones that, you know, they want something from her or whatever. I mean, whoever she gets, they always want to take care of her. They're like right there. And that's her grace in this life, you know, with her loss of this this leadership, this, you know, place in the world. You know, she's sad about it. Chiron, Aries, 10th house, but there's this grace, and not everybody has it. So that's my commentary on Chiron in Aries, and in this individual's chart, it just happens to be in the 10th house. So that's my commentary. You have a great day, and I'll see you next time.